Cheers.
I'm Chipotle, but
Chipotle.
soda for the afternoon.
Rockies, they both have C's.
Yeah.
And I'm returning
And there, I remember when there was
to
Rockies on State Street. Do you remember that? Were you here at that time, like in the 90s? They had all that meat salad bar. It's great for students.
All right. I've rotated through all of the slides several times. Hopefully you guys all caught that. The big thing I want to reinforce is we're not having a lab this Friday because it's the Teaching Academy retreat. It's awesome. You should go. It's sold out past registration, but show up anyway because usually half the people who register don't show up. So we'll find a spot for you, and if we don't, we'll demand to make the room bigger. Okay, things that we want to cover on video. The other thing I want to talk about is, if you haven't been here before, I think you all have, but you can access the activity sheet. Instructions to register for the Canvas course are right here. We will be live streaming the Teaching Academy retreat on Friday on the Active Teaching Lab page. So it's one way that we're trying to figure out how do we get the 200 and some people that are registered into a 130-person room. We send them outside with a little laptop. Video, things that we want to talk about today for video. We have a small enough group today that we can say, hey, my name is, and I would like to cover or hear about or understand more about this, that, or the other thing. Who would like to start?
I can start.
All right, AJ.
Easy enough. Yes, my name is AJ Daughtry-Krill. I am responsible for some online courses for high school students. So basically, I'd like to just hear what people do. One thing that came up in an active teaching lab a few times back, maybe a year ago or less, was changing scenery in your videos. And I'm just curious if anyone here has tried that and how that went, because it's kind of a big to-do.
You mean like using a green screen and using a whole, like, now I'm in Paris and now I'm Grand Canyon?
I think that's fun, but no, I just mean, here I am at my favorite spot on campus, or here I am in my office. Or
All right, yeah, let's talk about, that'd be a fun one. I've got a fun anecdote for that.
Cool.
Background scene. Very good. Dan or Allison?
I can go.
All right.
So my name is Allison. I'm from the geoscience department. I'm here because I'm curious about the different platforms on which we upload videos. So YouTube is a very common one, but what are the benefits to using Kaltura and the other tools available to us at UW?
Very good. Platform options. Shoko?
Hi, my name is Shoko. I'm in UW Shared Services through UW System. I'm mostly in the employee side of the training, so professional development stuff. I'm wondering, I've used Adobe Spark Video to create really simple videos, but then I don't know how to make it closed caption. For any kind of videos that you create for fun,
How do you capture them?
how do I caption that out? Kind of simple.
I'm going to put that down as 2 separate points, because the second point will apply to many platforms. Cliff.
Cliff Cunningham. I'm with the Learning UW team, and my primary interest is like use cases. When do students and instructors start using these videos? Instructors, I think I understand, but students, I'm always intrigued. How are faculty using having students record what for what purpose?
So how are faculty having students record?
Just use case for students recording. Yeah, use cases.
And that is half of today's title, student created. Very good. Salah?
yeah. Thank you.
Who are you and why? What would you like us to cover today regarding video so that you leave thinking that was worth my time?
Yeah, sure. My name is Salah. I am an online Arabic teacher with the collaborative language program here at UW.
Excellent.
Actually, just I'm here. I want to learn something. You know, like I don't know exactly, but there's something I can add it to myself. And
All right.
How can I
We'll
use
try to
it
have
in
you
my
leave with
class?
one thing.
Yeah, yeah.
The rest of it, not important.
Thank you.
I'm Heidi, I'm with ESL, and I'm just curious to hear the length of videos that people have had that seem to have the most success. And I understand it can vary with content, but is there a sweet spot where students start to tune out, or stop listening?
I heard two things. The second thing I heard of that was, how do you know how long and when they tune out? So, something about analytics. Megan?
I'm Megan. I'm with the med school, and we use a lot of video, both instructor-created and student-created in the courses that I teach. So I'm just here to share what we've done so far, and I would like to know about the analytics and captioning.
All right. Very good. Jeff, the TV is turned off. I wonder if I kick the plug. Can you troubleshoot that? Thank you. Michelle?
I'm Michelle. I'm an instructional designer here at ET. And I'm here for all of it, as you mentioned.
Okay.
I've used video with English language learners in the past, and I love it because why should we be assessing them on something that's written if the writing assignment isn't what you want students to take away from it? You want them to take the content away. So they can express themselves in video and do it clearly in their in English. So I've seen lots of benefits that way with video.
Great. Thank you. We'll call on you for that. Eileen?
So I'm here because we're going to start doing some short, like 5-minute videos of faculty and staff, kind of taking a few key points away from their lectures for and as that would be important for graduate students. So we've been asked to do more video, and so we've been doing things like recording entire lectures and workshops, editing them down, to a half an hour or so, putting them on the web and looking at the analytics and thinking, oh, okay, maybe something else.
So
we're moving to this, to do short videos, and so I'm interested in learning more about how people have just gone about this and kind of trying to conceptualize that this is going to be a series, probably. And so how to think about that up front rather than technically and how it looks.
Grad School Office of Professional Development, how do I create useful videos for graduate students that are short enough for them to watch and effective, and how do I get started? All right, I'll put down how do I start. Very good. And Mallory, let's go to you and then we'll do the back row last.
Sure. So I am Mallory Conlon. I'm a consultant on the Learn at UW team. I mostly work with content authoring platforms, but media can oftentimes be mixed with content authoring, especially when you're in an online environment. And I'm really familiar with that, so I'm particularly interested in how people are using video in face-to-face courses, how they're incorporating that to make it a more blended environment, or if anybody is doing stuff like that.
All right, I like that, supporting face-to-face. And Dan.
My name is Dan Valley. I'm the new Kaltura System Administrator for the UW-Madison team. I've been around campus for a while, so some of you might have seen me around before. I've had roles involving video and media on campus for a long time. I worked at the Digital Media Center where we did very hands-on work with instructors and graduate students producing video. I produced my own video work personally. I'm just kind of a video geek, so partly I think why I'm excited about the topic, got the job, and I'm here to talk. So.
Awesome.
I'm going to ask you maybe at some point to just look at the evolution of how things have changed. And
I could talk about that for an hour.
Well, not for an hour, just
Exactly.
maybe think about a little
Something
synopsis.
shorter?
Yeah.
Maybe make a
Yeah.
video.
Or make a video of it by like
I'll make it
20 after if you could. Regina.
Hey, I'm Regina Ari. I'm with the Provost Office. I guess like Eileen, we're starting to roll out some videos for instructors on assessment and things like that.
Charles?
Yes. Hey everyone, I'm Charles. I am in the French department where I am the student today, and I'm here because I know very little about using video in the classroom. So like somebody else said, how would I get started? That would be the tip of this program.
All right, excellent. And JT?
I'm JT, I'm in DeWitt, AT and French and Tongue as well. I'm here to learn, and we have a question from an online contributor, Haley.
Oh, very good. That reminds me, who is our online contributor?
Haley.
Haley, hello.
Haley Kirkhoff, hi.
We can hear you, great.
I'm with Continuing Studies, an instructional designer, and I have an instructor who is revising a course, and she wants to build in student video production that's really just a replacement of written reflections. So I'm kind of looking for advice on minimum viable instructions to support that. So they're as simple as possible.
All right, so more on student-created video. Great. Okay. Oh, and we have Millie.
Oh, hi everyone. First of all, thank you for making me hiking all the way here.
You're welcome.
I've never ventured to this part of campus. It's really beautiful. Took me 20 minutes to get here. Horrible directions. I teach at the business school. I'm flipping my classrooms and turning another one online, so I need a lot of video production. I refuse to do the talking head video, so my goal is to have very engaging videos and accumulate over time. So my goal are twofold. One is I create videos myself to explain concepts and theories without the timestamp. Second one would be I'm thinking about the student contest for student-made videos. So over time I can use those to populate my video library. I did one video, it was kind of interesting, but you can see I probably made a lot of beginners' mistakes.
So there are two sort of areas, or maybe three. One, student-created video. Very exciting, very risky. Not a thing that 10 years ago or 20 years ago we would say, you can't do that, it takes too much, the students don't have the equipment. Whereas now, the students almost all have the equipment or they can check it out, right? And they know how to do it because they're making videos for Instagram and for other things as well. So it's gotten so much easier, and Dan could probably attest to the amount of equipment one needed when you first started here versus the amount and the accessibility of the equipment and the making of it now. So student created is one. Yep.
Maybe it's just different for this topic, but maybe equipment. Like I saw that lady with the microphone.
Yep.
Maybe like is there like a good
Yeah.
ones and bad ones?
Let's add equipment to the list because that is a really good and still important thing, because oftentimes this is not enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is, depending on what you want to do. Student created video is one, instructor created video is another one. Again, a thing that usually the instructors didn't do themselves. They had a studio person on campus that they would say, oh, I just got this $20,000 grant. Can you make 3 lectures of mine into videos so that I can flip those 3 parts of my classroom? And then they would do that, and they would add the flashing graphics and all this other sort of stuff. And it was very nice and effectively professionally produced. Which was the third category, is having somebody else do it, which is often still more expensive, although the results are usually much more polished. And we can talk about, is polished better all the time? So let's just start all at the top here with background scene and sort of lead it into that topic with the idea of the background scene. How many of you have seen these really polished, professionally produced videos? What do you think of them?
I can go first.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of them are very distracting for me.
Why?
Like it's so, the person's face is so crisp and they're so close that I'm like, I can't listen to what you're saying. It's just too much. It's overpowering.
Interesting. Good. Yeah.
That's how it is for me, at least.
JT, you had something.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think polish is really distracting because, especially if it's flipped, you've already seen the person in real life. campus, just from this very vibrant media personality that they've become. It just strange to me.
There's something distancing about it, I think. If it's too polished, and especially if it's an instructor and you're trying to create a rapport with your students, if you have a professionally done one where you get the makeup done and the lighting's all perfect and you've got that crisp background with your rows of books in the back of you showing how learned you are, you're actually increasing the distance between you and the student through these little signs, right? And now that students are used to the cell phone videos and things like that, what they're used to is the weird big head that's kind of in the picture sometimes and not in the picture other times. That is familiar. That is comfortable. That is more authentic as far as their video production and video consumption goes for building closeness and sort of the, I hate to use the word intimacy here, but the intimacy between you and your class. So that's not necessarily a bad thing to have. When we talk about the background, who had the background? Was it you? No.
It was me.
All right, the background. One of my favorite videos was from one of the MOOCs that I saw, and this instructor would do his videos while he was walking across campus. So video up, and he's talking as he's walking, and so the background continues to change, but it's familiar because it's campus, and it sort of shows him in a context that is not the bookcase behind him. It's sort of a neat opportunity to get out of the office and to be more approachable to the students. Other people have thoughts on context and backgrounds, or just the whole distancing versus?
So first, I totally agree with the kind of professional quality, potentially distancing, because like if I was to summarize what I was joking about before, like essentially what we've experienced is a democratization of video production. It required specialized equipment, high-priced software that only professionals for the most part knew how to use. And now, like you were just saying, everybody has this in the palm of their hands.
Right.
And
everybody can.
Yes, everybody can, and this doesn't mean 100% of students know how to do this, but
right.
there's a lot of students who understand how to upload a video to YouTube, how to do basic editing in YouTube, etc. So even if they're not a creator, they are a consumer of video content on YouTube almost certainly, and they're familiar with that kind of mode of delivery. The other thing that I wanted to say about changing scenery or the background, this is kind of like one of my pet topics, is to think about if I can see that being something students would enjoy or would help keep their engagement. The problem with doing videos out and about in the community, or maybe in an area that's really relevant to your subject interest, is controlling the sound.
Yeah.
Because
good.
A lot of, unfortunately, people don't take enough consideration into recording the sound. And one thing that drives me crazy and will get me to stop listening sooner than anything else is badly recorded audio. And if you're out at the union and you're trying to do a little video of yourself on the terrace and you have people drinking beer at the table next to you and laughing and joking, and the students trying to listen to what you're saying over that background noise, it's going to really require an effort from the student to kind of pay attention to what you're saying. So I'm not going to go too much farther into this, but we can talk a little bit more later about, depending on where you are, using either a dedicated microphone with a headset, like you saw, or if you're out in the community, like, again, this takes planning and effort, but to have a dedicated lav mic or something that you're recording from, or to try and control the background noise, move across the terrace where there's a spot where there aren't students laughing and drinking some beer.
Yep, it requires thought. And I think that the more that you do this, if you do it the first time and you're on the terrace and there's somebody with a distinct and laugh that covers up what you're trying to say, you're going to get feedback on that. And next time you're going to be like, oh, I'm not going to sit there again. And you'll learn these things eventually. So the big part, though, is the audio. And if you just are using audio from your built-in speaker here or heaven forbid, the built-in speakers or microphones that are on your laptops, those are terrible. They're not, they don't give you the crispness, they don't give you the, they don't give you what you need.
In fact, I'll try to provide a link to it. I should have put it on the sheet. I have a KB doc which shows an example of a recording done on a built-in microphone compared to a headset mic compared to a professional mic. So you can actually hear the difference. And that's not like worst case scenario. It's just like, I'm not in any exceptionally noisy environment. It's literally just recording in our office upstairs, but you can still tell the difference.
So
I found that these are good.
these Snowball microphones are really good, and they're now $40. I think I bought mine when it was $100, and it's just kind of gone down over the years. But even the headsets, even the cheap headsets with the cheapish microphones on them built in, are so much better than speaking 2 feet away from your laptop. Shoko and then Eileen.
Now, do I have to be in it, in the video?
Do you have to be in your video?
Can you like have a slide deck and then just have me reading?
Yep.
Okay.
But
Is
in
that,
that
is that
case,
bad?
you probably wouldn't
Voiceover.
want to do a video recording, you'd want to do like a screen capture
Right.
on your computer, because video recording a projection like that would not look very good.
And we see this with, and this is why we're doing the Blackboard Collaborate. The Blackboard Collaborate on this screen right here is recording the screen, what's on the screen. With that camera, whoever's listening, hi Haley. Haley can choose between, does she want to look at the screen that's being projected, or does she want to look at all of you, or some of you, not you in the back row. And what we found with the camera back there is you can't actually even read anything on the screen. So it's worthless. So having that screen capture through Kaltura, and we have instructions on how to do that on the activity sheet, and I'm sure there are many videos on YouTube as well about that.
It's very easy once you get in. It's really it's fun when you realize how easy it is to do.
So this session is about video, not screen capture.
I can include screen capture.
Officially, it's that's true. I guess the question to me would be like, what's the output? The output
Okay.
is going to be a video.
Right, versus the input is, or the input, the capture, is the capture built into the software, or is the capture through a video lens? Is there a benefit of having a person's face in, and when is there a benefit and when is there not a benefit? Emily?
I've taken a class on how to teach blended in a blended format. What I found, the one thing I really like was the videos are professionally made. I like it when people present data, it's all like very fluid and nice and crisp. But the instructor would, every week would make a small video of her talking about this is what you're looking at this week.
Oh, right,
and
great.
the purpose is to build
So a video
connection.
cliff note on the video that they've watched.
Right. It's like opening this week, this is what you're gonna do. And one time she was walking by, she was talking, a marching band walked by, and she was laughing. Somehow I remembered that one, that moment. It was really lighthearted. So I think if your purpose is to make personal connections, you want to show your face, you want to show some humor, some personal side.
Oh.
And it works on me. I remembered that one.
Reaction video.
In some ways, yeah.
I love it.
The other thing is, if you are at a board explaining something, if it's just you with a disembodied voice, or just the disembodied voice and not you, all of the nonverbals and the pointing and the gesturing. Gesturing is a huge way that we communicate. And if you are just either sitting at your desk and you're just the talking head and you're not gesturing, you're missing out on a way to communicate visually. And if you have a concept and you're just showing the slides without having your something to indicate that this third point is really important, then you might be missing out.
And it kind of cuts both ways, right? That if you do not exemplify those engaging gestures and facial whatevers, then your face there is a distraction more than it is it's helpful. Just like,
and you can there are billions of hours of examples of this on YouTube, right? I mean, if you look at any TED Talk, there are the parts where they're talking and they're gesturing, and then there are the parts where they're talking over the slide, and that cutting back and forth. That's not easy to do. right? That they've got very high-paid camera people and producers putting all these things together. When we did the videos for the MOOCs on campus, we had the faculty come in and they did the lectures, but then they spent hundreds of hours taking out the ums and the ahs afterwards and saying, all right, they just said this point 4 different times, which one is the best way and can we get rid of the other 10 minutes in order to get it down from, you know, a full 1 hour recording session down to a nice digestible 10-minute or 15-minute video. So that was a lot of production. Students aren't going to be able to do that if you have them create that. Some students might, but most of your students won't. Mallory.
I just wanted to highlight what you said about the difficulty with editing. It's much easier to edit when you just have audio and PowerPoint slides. So if you're dealing with creating videos on your own time and you maybe don't have a grant to do it, so you don't have money or to pay people for producing the videos for you, you might want to consider just doing like introduction videos with your face that can be really short and brief versus entire lectures where you see your face on the screen, because editing is so complicated when you have a face.
Now, it was 6 years ago that I had my students do this, but for the third week of class, I said, I want you to create a 1 to 3 minute introductory video. And they put it on YouTube because Kaltura wasn't an option, I think, at the time. But it was a hidden video, so they had to share the link with me in order somebody couldn't go search it out for them. And then after the video was turned in, I said you can take down the link or take down the video anytime you want to do it. But I had the students in the class all create these individual videos. Some of them did it on their phone, some of them checked out equipment from the library. They all had to do it, and it was painful for many of them to do that because you're brand new to campus, you don't know people. So a lot of them did it in their dorm room or in their residence hall room because it was a familiar, comfortable place. What that did was, one, it was shared trauma. The students, we watched it all together. I brought in a big bag of popcorn and they all watched it. They watched each other say, 3 minutes of introduction. Hi, I'm so-and-so, I like cats, and here's some other things about me. But what the effect was that in the background, they had their poster, they had their dorm room, it was set up. You didn't just see this disembodied head, you saw them in their context, in their environment that made them the most comfortable. Now, it was only a 1 to 3 minute video, but because sometimes you do a video and the lighting looks bad and you get the double chin going on there because you've got the light going down this way, or I don't know which way it is. This way, I think, right? Yeah, so you see all the neck and the chin and, oh, no, I'm not going to use that one. I'll do it over again. So in thinking, and they had to write a script because the first time they did it, they didn't know what to say. So they're like, oh, I'm going to do this better. I'm going to create a script. They put a lot of time into self-representing in video. And at the end of it, it was great. They knew each other, not just, oh, I'm sitting next to this person who I don't know, but, oh, you're the person who's got the cool stuff, the cool poster in their room. And it was a really great way to sort of build a learning community. I think we can ask students to create videos at this point. We have resources available. They will help each other, especially if we tell them to help each other. It's a great excuse for me to talk to somebody in class. Hey, I need help. Now I can talk to you, and I've got a reason to talk to you instead of hi, how are you? So it gives them excuses to work together to build these cohorts. Eileen.
So I was wondering if anybody has then a handout on what we would like to do, which is maybe go and into someone's office, record them, maybe use this, a snowball mic, because we don't want to see them with a headset, but we want them, obviously at UW-Madison, there's things that we want to show about them, but they're basically a talking head.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of setting the lighting, tips that we would have that would, probably give your students to, so that we could go in and do that as if, basically we're going into someone's dorm.
Yeah.
Recording.
There are. I don't have a sheet that I've made for you, but I will direct you to YouTube. And if you do a search for how
Like
to
if I wanted
do
to see-
informal video interviews, you'll get
That's the best source then.
you'll get 400 choices, and you can choose, do I want to see the 30-second one or the 20-minute one? Do I want the one from 1999, or do I want the one from last year?
And I quite appreciate that point about them going to edit it, and we're going to put ourselves potentially in a more difficult place by having to edit it someone's screen rather than doing the screen and the audio.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a disadvantage for us.
And you might want to get some professional help, because you want those to look a little bit more professional. You don't want them to, your goal is not to build a classroom community, you know, small cohort.
But that informality, yeah, so it's on the continuum.
Yeah.
So we're not in the library, but not quite homegrown.
Yeah. All right. We've covered that pretty well. It's more than enough. Platform options. I talked about using YouTube because it was easy and everybody had it, and they already had trillions of videos at the time, so why not use it? That did not mean that everybody used YouTube to create it. I had a little instructional video on how to do that in YouTube, which has changed. It changes all the time. But some people did it on their phone and then they uploaded it. Some people use Yahoo Video. That was the thing. I think it might still be a thing. I don't know. And they edited in Yahoo, which was sort of an interesting thing. Some people use Windows Movie Maker. Some people use iMac and iMovie, or the Mac and the iMovie. But they all uploaded it to YouTube, and it was shared out. And it was very nice for me as an instructor, because I didn't have to say, okay, bring your flash drive up with your movie on it, and let's plug it in and see if it works. I was able to test it the morning of and say, that one plays, that one plays, that one plays, that one plays. Oh, that one didn't share my permission or share permissions. Quick email, can you please send the permission sharing or set that? So it was a very easy way to go through 20 student created videos in a class period.
One thing I want to say about YouTube really quick is if you're teaching online and you upload videos to YouTube, it's not accessible in all countries around the world
Yes.
or on military bases. Keep that in mind. That's one reason why Kaltura is much better to use than YouTube.
Yep, so YouTube is one option. Kaltura is another option. It is dedicated, it is a streaming server that is dedicated for this kind of media streaming. Instead of uploading your video to Canvas, remember you only have 1 gig of space for your course in Canvas, so don't plug it all up with video. Use the video streaming service Kaltura that we have. It integrates nicely with Canvas. It's password protected. It's accessible through Canvas to many of these places that will shut down YouTube, and it's easy. Cliff had talked about, and we have instructions in the activity sheet on how to do screen capture, which YouTube doesn't do very well. Does YouTube even do that? I don't think so. Or you could have your head inside, use your webcam and do the screen capture and do highlighting on the screen and all of these other things. So it's a very flexible tool that is built for this kind of thing. So it's a great resource, and it's fully supported on campus here, including in-video quizzing, which nobody asked about. Well, we talked a little bit about assessment option, but that's a different thing. So I'm only going to spend a short amount of time on this. In-video quizzing, we've got instructions on the activity sheet. You can have a video that you want your students to watch. After 3 minutes or after the first section of the video, you can pause it and say, all right, students, based on what you just saw, what's the learning question, that you would put in here? Is it A, B, or C? Stop and think for a moment what's going to happen. What do you think is going to happen next? Ask them to stop and predict what's going to happen based on what they've done. This is some great teaching pedagogy options that this allows you to do. What it also allows you to do is make sure that they've watched the video, because you can't do that in a book very easily and say, oh, did you read your chapter? Yeah. but you don't know if they did or not. With video, you can.
Yeah, I'll just add, so one thing that Kaltura also has a little bit in more detail of than YouTube is you do have more analytics. And it will depend on how you have integrated that video into your course. Hopefully you're embedding it inside a Canvas page or a different area of Canvas. But that way, if you're curious, you can go in and look at the analytics and see who's watched for how long, etc. I don't encourage people to use that for an assessment or a points sort of thing, but if a student comes to office hours and says, Professor, I'm struggling, if you're curious, you could kind of see, is Dan watching my lectures or not? But then you could use these IDQs or even just a regular Canvas quiz to kind of determine, did the student listen and understand, or did they zone out and start watching on their phone while they were letting the video play in the background? So yeah, analytics in Kaltura is an evolving topic. Kaltura is kind of, they're about to roll out kind of even more detailed analytics over the next year. So.
And I want to reemphasize, it's not a thing that you want to use on its own for assessment, because somebody could turn it on and walk away, and according to the analytics, they watched it, but maybe they have, maybe they haven't. So there's still a lot of evolving that needs to happen, I think, before it becomes
There's no eyeball tracking.
right.
Yet,
Which
right? Growth mindset.
We have been asked about that.
Okay.
So.
Awesome. Awesome. That's good to look forward to. Length of videos then I think ties into that, right? Do we want what are the chances that you would watch, think about it in this way, a 20-minute video that was not professionally produced with a plot line and all of the Hollywood effects versus a short little video, a little 2-minute, 3-minute video? We're more likely to scan through some of those longer ones. And unless you're a great, engaging instructor, star lecturer, and you can do the TED Talk in one run, don't make your students look through that. Stop and go through that, because you're going to get tired in acting and producing it. So that's going to show up very quickly. Give yourself breaks in producing it. Just make your own chunks small. Do a 3-minute chunk, and then say, okay, that's that. I'm going to go take a break. Tomorrow I'll come back and I'll do another 3-minute chunk on the next topic. In Kaltura, students get a chance to set the speed. I believe that's still turned on, right?
Yep.
So they can watch it half speed, full speed, 1.5. Do they still allow 2? 2's double speed. So you're talking really fast, and they're watching you frenetically gesture. And I can't do anything past 1.5, but my comprehension just dives. But some students will get through your lecture in that respect.
There's also a ton of research on most effective video lengths, and it's under 10 minutes, or typically people say 5 to 7 minutes. So you could probably find like 1,000 research papers on most effective media lengths, but that's what it says.
I want to add one other piece. In addition to what John just said, there's a lot of pedagogical benefits, and Mallory, there's pedagogical benefits to it, there's production benefits to you as an instructor, but there's also something that I like to remind people of. If you're teaching, this is material you're going to want to change or update down the road, and it's a lot less intimidating to think, well, I got to update that 3-minute video chunk that I did on analytics than, oh God, I've got to record that hour lecture I did, because I got to edit out that 3 minutes or something like that. So there's a lot less mental load in terms of having a nice series of chunked video topics that you can update than these big lectures.
If you think modular, think in modules, you can actually even embed video into, as Dan had said, in your quiz questions. So any place that you type in text in Canvas, you can embed a video. If you want to make sure that they watch that 3-minute video, you can put that 3-minute video as quiz question number 1, and then have them answer the quiz question. Quiz question number 2 refers to the next 3-minute video, or maybe there's a reading that you embed in quiz question number 2. So you can build your content pages with a lot of this media that, forces them to, in an analog way, at least single speed, but maybe 1.5 speed, maybe 2 times speed, slow down and go through your content in a way.
So would you like be mindful of what you're wearing? Like don't wear a turtleneck? Kind of like
Depends on what your background is. Like we have different videos, you know, like there's like the plain gray video, or there's sometimes I shoot in my office. We also have this thing called the light board at the med school, which is basically a glass board that you can write on.
Yeah.
And it's a black background,
Yeah.
and so we can't wear black.
Okay.
Do the floating head.
So, yeah, so we
So we have Venetian blinds behind Megan. She's wearing a striped shirt. Right. There's another.
So she
I
disappeared.
specifically have been told never to wear this shirt on video because it looks crazy.
Right.
So yeah.
There are things to keep in mind. Again, YouTube's got 1,000 videos on that.
For whatever it's worth, I as the Kaltura admin have access to lots of analytics. The most popular playback speed is 2x.
Is it really?
39.94%,
What is it?
followed by 1.5 speed at 39.27%. So students they're very mindful of their time.
Yeah, they are.
They're going to try to get this content as quickly as they can.
They're very busy.
They are, and they're gaming. They're figuring out. They're making decisions. I have this much time. I have this much to do. I also want to have a life. So, how can I do this section as quickly as possible? And that 2x option is available there. So, they will do it, and it's up to you as an instructor to make sure that even at double speed, they are getting what they need to get by putting in some of these self-knowledge checks. Did you get this? Quiz questions, etc. JT.
I was going to ask a similar question. I mean, if it's double speed, then, you know, what are the pedagogical benefits of the video itself? I mean, if they're just, you've designed that material for a 1-speed track, they're speeding it up just to get through it. I just kind of question the role of the video then.
Yeah.
Well, I would suggest that you watch some instructional videos. And it's not, there's a lot of people, they're thinking through complex, high-level college topics. So they're not speaking at kind of regular conversational tone. They're speaking a little bit more slowly and methodically. So it's not necessarily that speeding it up is going to completely degrade the instructional value of the video every time. So students are saying, you know what, I'm still getting what I need out of this. Like if they don't, it's going to come out in the assessments. So I think that there's a balance. Students, I think, can't always be speeding up the videos.
And remember, videos let them go back, right? So if they don't get it, they can pause, rewind, slow down that one part because they didn't get it. It offers a lot of these affordances. I would also posit that they are not reading your material in a linear 1-speed thing. They are scanning through, going, all right, don't need to know this is boring. They're still talking about the same stuff here. So as far as mediums, video, even at double speed, is a little bit less skippable than text, which you can just do whatever through.
I've also noticed, I've watched and listened to things that had faster speeds, and when I go back to normal speed, it seems so slow. It's like, what? They were talking that slow? So you can adjust, your brain will adjust.
So, Min?
Yeah, I've learned that we need to make the videos accessible, so we should put captions. Do you know that students would actually just skim through the captions rather than watch the video? Are you aware?
Caption videos with transcripts, actually, there have been studies that show that students remember more from a video that's been captioned and has a transcript than videos that don't.
Right.
So they help each other rather than cancel each other out. Is that
No, well, they caption video and videos with transcripts are more beneficial to student learning than videos without them. We're actually doing a pilot right now. Well, here, let me back up. To get a video caption currently requires either somebody with a lot of time or to pay for professional captions. Right now, we're piloting something that's called machine captions. It's just, again, go back to YouTube. It's like YouTube's function where you say, hey, computer, caption this video. And the computer does its best to kind of say, oh, I think Dan said this word. And it generates the caption, and then you can go back in and you can edit and correct that.
Correction, it doesn't say, I think Dan said, person speaking now says blah, blah, blah. And if you have two speakers, it doesn't say, oh, new speaker yet. It just, so the sentences, and they're not really sentences because they don't have any punctuation, but the word stream continues on regardless of who's speaking, regardless of whether there's pauses or not pauses, regardless of inflections, regardless of music playing now in the background. It's not the same type of captioning that you see on closed captioning on your TV shows where people go in and they edit maybe some of that initial stuff and they say character 1 speaking, character 2 speaking, explosion sound. You know, those are much more informative than these stream of word captions.
So I could have just turned this feature on and been done with it, but I think we really wanted to take accessibility seriously. There's the McBurney Disability Resource Center on campus. Any instructor with a student with a need can go to them to have their content captioned for free. We didn't want to negatively impact the work that they were doing, so we wanted to involve them, other accessibility experts from campus, instructors. And right now I think the pilot's going well. The recommendation hopefully we're going to collect data in early October. We're going to make a recommendation in November. Hopefully leadership can make a decision so that we can potentially turn this tool on for wide campus use in the winter or spring semester.
Oh, wow.
But it's going to be another tool in the toolbox for consultants, instructional designers, and instructors, and even students can use this tool in Kaltura if we turn it on. Frankly, I suspect that it's not something most instructors are going to want to use if you're recording your hour-long lectures, but it might be something you want to use if you record a quick 3 or 4 minute, hey students, I've gotten a bunch of questions about this assignment, I thought I'd record a quick video, here's a clarification. You know, you can machine caption that and correct it pretty quickly. I'm finding it takes between 2.5 to 4 times the length of the video to correct it. So 3-minute video might take it 10 or 12 minutes to correct. And it depends on the language, your recording environment, etc.
Dan mentioned 2 ways to do captioning there. The third way that I was hoping that one Gernsbacher would be on today and would be able to talk about, she creates a script ahead of time and has been teaching online and doing this long enough that it no longer sounds like I'm reading from a script, students, and this is the topic that I'm covering. You do it a few times and you get better and better and better at it, and then you just upload that script along with the video, and they can scan through it as they're watching the video. They can highlight, they can take notes off of it, etc. So that's another way to do captioning. So, JT?
Does this the captioning service have 4 languages?
It does. In fact, I've turned on every single language it has available, but thus far we don't have
There's no Italian.
We don't have anybody in the pilot who's used the 4 language. In fact, even in Kaltura, they're kind of like, we don't know how accurate some of these 4 language hacks are. So we're kind of trying to find somebody who
It's like a
would
Google
be interested in
Translate.
trying it. So.
I was saying Ben High is just across the street.
Right.
Well, David Beckett's in the pilot core team, along with. So yeah, we're hoping. Actually, it was David who says, I think I do have some people who have some material that we can run through this. The other thing that I want to mention, what you just mentioned, John, is it's called a transcript alignment tool. Whereas if an instructor did speak from a transcript, you can upload this transcript to Kaltura, and that basically it will match it at 100%.
Oh, wow. So it says, this is the word I think it is, and oh look, here in the transcript is this word, followed by that word.
Yep. So for example.
Is that what this is? I was just looking at this knowledge base page.
So actually, none of the KBs are currently publicly visible because it's only a closed pilot right now. I do have some KBs, but I'll open them up and publish them when this tool is available to campus.
So look for it maybe in winter or spring, the transcript alignment tool.
The feedback could come back and the feedback could say, we think this is terrible, don't turn it on.
Right.
I'll just give you a hint. I don't think, the feedback I'm getting kind of unofficially thus far seems to be that most people think it's pretty easy to use and of potential benefit to campus.
Good.
So
And that's only UW-Madison.
correct. Yep. Well, let me pause that. System I should not speak for system for the DLE instance of Canvas and Kaltura, but my understanding is they are probably planning to turn on this version of the machine captioning tool in Kaltura at some point. I just don't remember exactly when.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. We did talk a little bit about student-created video, but let's talk more about that because that came up in several. Minley, you talked about having a contest with having your students create videos. Tell us about that.
In the plan, I haven't started, but that's an idea. I have 2 students from my previous classes who are interested in making videos with me, so I give them a task. They came up with some script, and we talk through that and make the video. We kind of make it together. So in the future, I would like to open this to every student. I thought about having that as a semester team project. Did something like that, but then 5% of them like it. The rest of them say this is an international management class. It's not a video making class. I don't want to do it.
It's too bad.
Which is sort of an interesting thing. If your students need to communicate in their professions, there's written communication. We've written that into many of our curriculum, right? You must learn how to write in this course. There's presentations. We make our students do presentations, so you have to speak in front of another group about whatever your content is. At some point, there's comes and goes talk about digital literacy. Can you create some sort of a video? Can you create a PowerPoint? Can you create other forms besides written and visual? Megan, you've got thoughts.
I've got that feedback from our projects too, but what we found this year, instead of having one project that they had to do, we had a bunch of video projects throughout the summer, and since they were able to kind of get the kinks out for, what program should I use, how do I upload it, and practicing, by the end of the semester, they were fine with creating a video. So the videos all improved. So if maybe you have smaller videos at the beginning and then one larger, then they know, then they're ready to make that bigger project.
What's the subject of your class?
Anatomy.
So it's not really video making related.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not
That's
in
good
any
to
way.
know.
But they need to learn how to talk to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
So they, what we have them do is just pick one muscle or bone or something like that, and then they have to explain it and find a syndrome that's associated with it. It has to be 5 minutes long, and so we found that it really focuses what they are telling us, because when we had them do these written projects, it would be a lot of just random information that they clearly just Googled and all kinds of pictures they found on Google image search and stuff, and it wasn't very focused, but because it had to be a 5-minute video, they were actually able to focus a lot of their.
I really want to emphasize this because you, as a student, you have to decide what's important, what's not important, and how do I explain this to somebody else in a way that's not just copy-paste from Google. I've got to come up with a creative way. It's really high-level Bloom's cognitive taxonomy stuff. It's analysis. You need to understand it. You need to think about it. You need to think about it as one of his things. Analyze it. You need to apply it into this other format. You need to synthesize all the information that you get into one different way. It's really, really good stuff. UW Mad Intro Bio is the Google search term under YouTube. We did this now 7 years ago, was it, Dan? 9 years ago? The DMA Digital Media Assignments? 2000, yeah, 8 years ago. Oh, it says right there. And it was doable. We had students in this honors bio class, nothing to do with video, but they took all of these professionally created tutorials and videos that you see, and they're polished, and they say, think about this part right here for a moment. Ding, okay, now look at the next part. And we've all seen those terrible science tutorial videos. And they said, are there better ways of doing this? So there are some that they use Legos. There's a lot of stop motion ones. There's like kitchen counter things that they did in their res halls. There's the magical modes of selection with Harry Potter. They came up with these really imaginative ways of conveying these major concepts. And it was scaffolded the whole time. So at the beginning, they had to do a proposal, and then they got into groups and they did a class pitch, and they said, okay, class, our group is going to work on modes of selection, or sickle cell anemia, and this is how we're going to do it. And then they had to come up with a storyboard or a script, and they had to get it all fact-checked with a major professor so that it was all accurate, or at least the way that it was presented wasn't terribly inaccurate. And it was a great thing. And then they rented out the play theater in Memorial Union, got popcorn, and had a great celebration there. And they invited their friends and family to come sit in and watch them. And now they can still send these videos to their grandmother and say, hey, Grandma, look at what I did. It was brilliant. That was 8 years ago. You can do it now. Much easier.
Another resource that I want to mention if you're teaching an in-person course on campus is the Design Lab over at College Library. They're a resource for if you need students to kind of have people to kind of help them work through media assignments. They have staff to do that, but it's been a while since I met with them, but at least they used to also be willing to meet with instructors to help you work on designing media assignments as well.
Were you going to mention software training for students too?
Of course I was going to mention software.
Good, go ahead.
Yes, software training for students is a fantastic resource. They have all sorts of courses on a lot of products that can do video editing or graphics editing, etc. So if a student wants, they can go to an in-person course. So they're the group that kind of pays for and administers our access to the online training as well. So.
And one more thing, if you're an instructor, you can invite them in to do a custom workshop. So this is the exact assignment, and then they'll come up with the workshop and deliver it in your class.
Lynda.com or YouTube will get you more information about Spark. There are still some things we didn't talk about, but we ran out of time. I'm sorry, I apologize. I talked too much. If you, on your way out, could fill out a couple of check boxes here and drop this off on the table, add a few comments about what was useful or not useful, drop it off on the table on the way out, that would be great. I want to remind you again that this activity sheet that we have now has on the very bottom of it all of these lab notes with extra resources that weren't there beforehand. It's still available. It will be available for you for as long as indefinitely. There are resources. We've had many labs in the past on these types of things, and those activity sheets are still up there as well. We don't update the activity sheets, so if you look at the one from 2018, it might have the old Kaltura in it, but still some good tips on a lot of what we haven't talked about here. And thank you all very much. Don't come on Friday, but hope to see you again next weekend at Future Labs.